Here are the configurations required for implementing the JDBC adapter in MuleSoft 4 to connect to a database. Prerequisites. Anypoint Studio IDE. You'll need Anypoint Studio installed for designing and deploying Mule applications. JDBC driver. Download the appropriate JDBC driver for your target database, e.g., MySQL connector, J for MySQL, PostgreSQL JDBC driver for PostgreSQL. Configuration steps. 1. Create a database config. In Anypoint Studio, navigate to the Global Elements view, right-click in Integration Project Explorer. Click Create and select Database Config. Provide a name for your configuration, e.g., My Database Config. 2. Connection details. In the Database Config window, choose Data Source Reference Connection for the connection field. Click Configure to define the connection details. 3. JDBC driver configuration. There are two options for configuring the JDBC driver. Use local file. Select this option if the JDBC driver jar file is on your local machine. Browse and select the downloaded jar file. Install the library using a local Maven repository. If you're using Maven for dependency management, choose this option and configure your local Maven repository settings. 4. Database connection properties. Enter the following details for your database connection. URL. The JDBC connection URL specific to your database, e.g., JDBC, link to localhost. Username. The username for accessing your database. Password. The password for the database user. Optional. Driver class name. If the driver class name isn't automatically detected, you can specify it here, e.g., com, MySQL, CJ, JDBC, driver for MySQL. 5. Test connection. Optional. Click the Test Connection button to verify if the configuration can successfully connect to your database. 6. Save and use the configuration. After a successful test connection, or if you're confident about the details, click OK to save the database config. You can now reference this configuration, My Database Config, in this example, within your Mule flows to interact with your database. Additional considerations. Data source configuration, optional. For advanced connection pooling and resource management, you can utilize data source configuration within the database config. This involves configuring a connection pool using libraries like dbcp2. Security. Always ensure proper security practices by using strong passwords and access control mechanisms for your database connections. Using the JDBC adapter. Once you have configured the database config, you can leverage the JDBC inbound and outbound endpoints within your Mule flows. JDBC inbound endpoint. This endpoint allows your flow to listen for data changes in the database and receive notifications, e.g., for updates or inserts. JDBC outbound endpoint. This endpoint enables your flow to perform database operations like queries, updates, or inserts using the configured connection. By following these steps and considering the additional points, you can effectively implement the JDBC adapter in MuleSoft 4 to establish connections and interact with your databases.